We have the honor of being joined with Judge Susan Wigenton. I will be reading her bio really quickly to start us off and then jump right into our questions if everybody is comfortable with that. All right. So, in June 2006, Susan D. Wiginton was appointed by President George W. Bush to the lifetime position of United States District Judge for the District of New Jersey. Previously, she was served as a United States Magistrate Judge in a part-time and then full-time capacity from 1997 until 2006. Additionally, Judge Wiginton was a trial attorney engaged in a private practice in her own firm until April 2000, when she was appointed to the bench on a full-time basis. Prior to that time, she practiced with the law firm Gi- Giordano. I'm saying that wrong,
No,
sorry.
you're good. Giordano.
Oh, perfect. PC, Middleton, New Jersey, where she was a partner and shareholder. She also served as the public defender for the city of Asbury Park from 1989 until 1993 and graded bar exams for the state of New Jersey Board of Bar Examiners for more than 8 years. From 1987 through 1988, Judge Wiginton served as the judicial law clerk to the Honorable Lawrence M. Lawson, who recently retired after serving as the assignment judge for the Monmouth County Superior Court. Judge Wiginton holds a bachelor's degree in political science from the Norfolk State University, Norfolk, Virginia, and a doctorate of jurisprudence degree from the College of William and Mary Marshall, White School of Law, Williamsburg, Virginia. She has received numerous awards and citations, which include the Athena Award nominee, Western Monmouth Chamber of Commerce, Woman of Distinct Honor, Mammoth Council of Girl Scouts, Women Lawyers and Mammoth Achievement Award, Long Branch NAACP Presidential Award, Martin Luther King Champions for Social Justice and Equality Award, Rutgers Law School Camden, the Associate of Black Women Lawyers of New Jersey, Distinguished Member of the League Community Award, W.E.B. Du Bois Citation for Merit, and National Association for Educational Opportunity Distinguished Alumni Award. She is also a member of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So, welcoming here today, Judge Wiginton. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Cyreema.
And starting right off, my first question to you is about your career. What made you pursue a career in law?
Well, for me, I actually got involved in law at the suggestion of my father, who said to me, why don't you become a lawyer? Basically, we were dropping my two brothers off for college. And I have twin brothers that are 2 years older than me. And so he made the suggestion, and I thought, well, it sounded interesting. And so pretty much from there, I made a decision to pursue whatever undergrad degree I needed to pursue to potentially go to law school. I did not know any lawyers. I did not have any lawyers in my family. And so it was very all new to me, quite frankly, and ended up majoring in political science because that's what my father said is the best thing to major in. And I've subsequently learned I could have majored in probably any subject whatsoever and still pursued a law degree. But when you don't know, you don't know. So, but I did major in it. I ended up enjoying it very much. And then after that, pursued my law school degree at William and Mary. So I stayed in Virginia during that time. I've always been from New Jersey, though, but I was in Virginia for both undergrad and for law school.
Right. And that kind of gives us kind of some insight into your upbringing and how that shaped your career path. But my next question is about your college experience in undergrad and what was some of your defining college experiences that gave you the confidence to pursue extracurriculars and then going on to law school.
For a college for me at Norfolk State was a historically Black university, and I had the fortune or misfortune, depending on how you look at it, to go to college with three brothers. My three brothers were at Norfolk State when I went there, so it wasn't something that was necessarily good for my dating life, for whatever that's worth, but. But it was just such an amazing experience because it allowed me, I saw so many different things, had the opportunity to really develop and be independent and pursue things of interest to me. And Norfolk State sort of gave me that sort of ground and space to do that. I was in the political science department, and in that particular department, they had so many different courses and different opportunities and programs that I could sort of immerse myself in to get more information about law school. because I had, as I said, I didn't know anything about law school or lawyers or anything like that. And while I was there, one of the best courses I took was a constitutional law course, which was taught by an attorney who had was a graduate of the school, and it was just the most fascinating class. And for me, it just sort of continued to spark my interest in wanting to pursue a career as an attorney. That doesn't mean I knew what area of law I wanted to go into because I did not. But I knew at that point even more so that I did want to pursue that career. And I also felt, even in pledging when I was in undergrad, getting the opportunity to do that, and just once again meeting people, developing relationships, building relationships. All of those things were so instrumental, and I felt just allowed me to grow as an individual. Um, and so once I left Norfolk State, I felt very confident in my abilities to be able to go and hopefully thrive and succeed wherever I went.
And how did you navigate, first of all, determining what path of law that you wanted to go into? And then how did you find mentors that nurtured that curiosity?
Well, I will say that I was definitely, well, I was not as savvy as younger people are today. You guys are very savvy. What you have, which I didn't have, are you know, you have social media, you have the internet. That wasn't a thing at all. We didn't even have cell phones then. When I was coming out of college, none of you were born, obviously, but I'm talking about in 1984. At that point, there were no cell phones. I mean, computers. If anyone on this call, Mr. Andrew, you might know, but computers even were nowhere close to where they are now. And so navigating was not as simple. It was a lot about just interacting with people and really developing relationships, having conversations with people. And I do think that that's sort of a lost art because people underestimate the value of that. You never know. And I say this to my law clerks. You see Allison on here now. She's one of my three clerks. And I say this to my law clerks. You never know who can open a door for you, who can provide an opportunity to you, and all those things. So that is what I did at least I feel like what I did while I was in college is to develop relationships, so much so that even through law school, after law school, that I still have many of those relationships today, if the people are even still alive and with us. But because it's extremely important, and it's not about necessarily what they do and what they can do for you, but it's developing that relationship. And then you get the byproduct of that, which is that they will look out for you and they will make suggestions and recommendations to other people about you. And I feel like that's what one of the things that I think I did well while I was in college.
And do you feel like face-to-face networking in comparison to kind of more, I think, computer heavy or tech heavy networking, do you feel like it's better or do you understand like the difference between, I guess, the benefits of face-to-face networking versus doing the kind of online groundwork to build those initial relationships?
I think you can benefit from both, but I think you have to know and strike a balance. Like, you know, you can benefit from both, and it depends on what field of study you're interested in. It may be very tech heavy, and so that is a better way for you to operate and move. But if you're looking for, I can tell you in the legal field, it's extremely important to build relationships with people one on one if you can do it, and it's not always easy to do. And I will just say as well, going back to your question, Cyreema, in terms of determining what area of law I wanted to go into, I never had any idea for years. Even when I was in law school, I knew I had to take certain courses to pass the bar. And so for me, it was like, I've got to take these courses. I need to do uh, at least somewhat well so I can pass the bar. And once I passed the bar, then it was about what job can I get? What job is available? Not necessarily being so focused to say, I want to practice criminal law or I want to practice commercial law or like it was never that way for me. And I know that a lot of lawyers that come out of law school now are much more focused in that regard. And that's fine. But I think for me, I felt like I was adaptable to some degree. I knew I wanted to probably do litigation, be in the courtroom. And so within that, there were so many different areas of law that I could potentially get involved with.
Right. I think we're kind of in an era of specialization. Everybody wants to be
Yeah,
a specialized in their field, but I think having that initial broad knowledge kind of, like you said, makes you adaptable to whatever field you're going into any industry.
100%. 100%.
My next question is about advice. What advice was crucial for you at the beginning of your career for law and then just in general?
And this is life advice, actually. Life advice, which is that never underestimate the importance of having a good reputation. And because once that reputation is tarnished or impacted negatively, it's very, very difficult to recover. It's very easy to ruin a good reputation, hard to build one. So I would say to you, when you go into any type of position, make sure that you leave the place better than you found it. Make sure that people are speaking about you positively. And that applies in every scenario. It's not just about in a legal world, but just in general. Just being sure that you are always doing your best, being responsible, being timely, being respectful. Those are things that will always serve you well. And if you don't do them, I promise you, people will see that even more so, and they will discuss that, and that will impact you far greater than anything else will. So, one of the best things that I've ever learned, and this basically came from my parents, is that you always want to show up 100%. You know, you don't show up 10%, you show up 100%. And if you don't understand something, say you don't understand, but do not fake it till you make it. Like that works in some worlds. It doesn't work in many worlds.
My next question is about challenges. What has been the most challenging opportunity that you've taken on as a judge, and how did you handle this opportunity?
Great question. A lot of this work is challenging. I will say it still feels challenging. It's very complex, and quite frankly, I've been doing this in one position or another for almost 30 years, and I will tell you that even today, I see things that I've never seen, and I deal with cases that are super complex, and I wonder each time, like, well, how are we going to kind of navigate that? I'm very fortunate to have amazing law clerks who are able to do the research and to sort of do the deep dive into different issues in different areas. And that supports me because I don't have the ability to do that with all the cases that I would need to. So I trust and rely on my law clerks very, very heavily. But it's a challenge. It's a challenge to balance the docket. It's a challenge to balance the relationships I have with my law clerks. It's a challenge to balance home life, and so all of those things and trying to do it seamlessly is not always easy. I'm better at it on some days than I am on other days. And I think that's, we're all a work in progress. But I do think that obviously one of the most difficult parts of this job is sentencing, and not necessarily the hardest part, but the most difficult part, because you do acknowledge and recognize that a person's life will probably be forever impacted as a result of the sentence that I hand down. So that is the most complicated part in terms of emotion. But there are just other areas of law that are extremely complex, and it is a challenge each day. One, to kind of make our way through it, but also to try to address it and tackle it, and do it in an intelligent but also mindful way. So every day we're working on that.
And in your relationship with your law clerks, when you're thinking about bringing someone in to kind of like your unit, like a operating efficient unit, what is something that you're looking out for, whether it's in their resume, whether it's in the connections that they made prior? What is an ideal candidate for an ideal law clerk?
I like real people. What I like to think is almost all of my law clerks, those that I interview, they're all intelligent. Like everyone's smart and everyone has graduated more than likely at the top of their class. But I like real people, people that can not only be very intelligent and do the work, but also can have a conversation just about life and tell me what makes them tick, what makes them interesting. Because in my chambers, there are three law clerks, my courtroom deputy, myself, we might have interns, and I have a court reporter. So I want someone that can sit at the lunch table and be interesting. Somebody that I can have a conversation with. But at the same time, when it's time to get down to work and do business, I want them to be able to give me a cogent, clear, concise, and well-reasoned opinion as well. So finding that sort of balance is not always the easiest thing to do. And then those law clerks have to get along with each other so that it's a harmonious environment in chambers, because it is very, very small when you really break it down. So, but I look for self-starters. I look for people that are obviously have done well, but are truly interested in the opportunity. there are so many people that apply to become clerks and so few that are hired. And especially students of color, very, very few have federal clerkships. So I try to make sure that I give a fair and open opportunity to those that I think could really grow and learn from that opportunity. And at the same time, I think will go on and do great things because of, in part at least, having had the opportunity to be here in clerk.
And how have you noticed that law clerks that go on to other firms or other clerkships, is that the right word? Is that
Yeah,
the
no, they go on to practice law.
this law? How have
Yeah,
they
they
made
some go on to another clerkship. You can go. They will potentially law clerks will leave me and go to the Court of Appeals, which is the court right under the Supreme Court. So, and then they could go to the Supreme Court, but that's very, very difficult to get in terms of a clerkship. But most will go and start either return to practicing law.
and how have they maintained their relationship with you, is my question.
I stay in touch with probably almost all of my law clerks in one form or another. Most of them we text, quite frankly. We always sort of keep a running list of birthdays so that at least at minimum, we're saying happy birthday. And I love watching them just become the great people they become. And so, as I said, I don't have any clerks that clerked for me 30 years ago, but I certainly have clerks that clerked for me 20 years ago. And just the impact that they've had on the profession, what they've accomplished in their lives. For me, it's amazing to have sort of a bird's eye view and watch that. And I have counseled so many of my law clerks just on like what is their next career move? Where do they go next? Do I do this opportunity versus that opportunity? I had with the judge I clerked for, and just getting input and feedback, and so I've been able to have that kind of relationship with my law clerks and maintain that with them. Many of them, especially those that have clerked in more recent years, they come back, they have lunch. They'll meet with my current clerks and sit there, and we'll just sort of have an afternoon where we kind of talk about what they're doing and that sort of thing, and what my law clerks are going to be doing once they leave me. But yeah, we stay in touch. That is the nature of a good clerkship, and how the relationship builds and develops throughout the time of that clerkship, which can be a 1 year clerkship or it can be a 2 year clerkship. So it varies.
And do you remember your first job or your first internship and a particular moment that changed your perspective?
Now, do you mean legally related? Because my first job was at, I think, Burger King. So, and nothing about that changed my anything.
Well, yeah, legal job,
So,
of course.
so you're not asking about that, are you, Cyreema? Okay.
Yeah.
Like, so my first legally related job is a job that I got while I was in law school. And while I was in law school, I essentially finished like my first semester of law school. And so that Christmas, I came back to New Jersey and I was home and I'm like this, I need to get a job doing something in a law firm. And so there was a town next to me called Red Bank. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to go to Red Bank. And I literally just walked the street of Red Bank and went firm to firm to firm to firm to firm and left my resume and just said, once again, I have no idea what type of law they practice. I have no idea what type of law I'm really interested in. I just knew that I wanted to get a legally related job. And at that point, I had literally one semester of law school behind me. And that is how I got my first job. And literally, one of the attorneys that came out in one of the firms I went into said, the fact that you're here speaks volumes to me about your determination. He said, so can you start tomorrow? And that was my first job. And I worked at that firm for probably 3 summers. I worked that entire Christmas vacation, and then I worked each other Christmas vacation and in the summers as well. And it was a great opportunity. Once again, and they did some of everything. They did some personal injury, but they also did some like contract law, things like that. They did nothing in areas of law that I would go on to be involved in, but it was such a great opportunity. And once again, just a testament to you have to be determined and you have to kind of sometimes you got to make things happen. So I was in school in Virginia. There were no connections in New Jersey. So that was my way of trying to make that work.
And can you tell us what the difference is between a day at a law firm versus the day of an appointed judge?
Well, a law firm, you have clients. And so a client, you're basically servicing a client and basically understanding that anything you do, you're billing a client. So you're looking to be paid for the work that you do, and you're advocating, arguing, or moving on behalf of a particular person. The difference in that, and so the course of your day is basically talking to clients. Maybe if you're in court, you go to court. Maybe if, depending on the nature of the litigation or the nature of the legal relationship. But in what we do in sitting as a judge, I don't have a client. There are no billable hours to speak of. I am basically making decisions and I'm ruling. If it's a civil matter, there are motions that get filed. We have to read those motions and issue an opinion on those motions. If it's a criminal matter, we have to decide if is this person going to trial, is this person pleading guilty. If they're pleading guilty, we have to go on the record, accept the plea of guilty, subsequently schedule sentencing and impose sentence. So the difference is in being at a law firm versus being in the federal court as a judge is that I don't have a client. So I'm not advocating or arguing on behalf of anybody. I'm trying to make a decision based on what I feel the law supports in terms of what the facts and the analysis would lend us to conclude.
And I also wanted to kind of circle back to your bio in terms of the artificial intelligence task force, because I always say kind of throughout the series of that AI is kind of a burgeoning topic in terms of a lot of fear surrounding it, whether it's environmental, social, or then the job industry. So what is your opinion on AI specifically, and as well as the law kind of keeping up with technology?
Um, I like to consider myself to be tech friendly, so I do think that it has a place, and it's one of those things that it's going to get used, whether we want it to be used or not. So you do have to try to figure out where does it fit. And so one of the things I think the federal court is trying to figure out is how do you utilize it? How do you deal with attorneys that utilize it? And once again, like it has hallucinations and things like that. What we get as well are we get a lot of people that file pro se submissions. Pro se just means that you don't have a lawyer. You're just a layperson and you're filing this on your own. And so AI may be the greatest thing that's ever happened to pro se people. And so they're writing briefs, they're submitting motions and citing cases that don't exist for propositions that didn't happen. And so trying to figure that out is can be a headache. And more importantly, once you figure it out, what do you do? Like, if a lawyer does that, can they be sanctioned? Can they be disbarred? Can they receive some type of ethical violation? But when a person is just a pro se, just a layperson off the street, what do you do with that? So that's been one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is how do we as a court use it? And there are legal platforms that specifically are to benefit lawyers and attorneys and things like that. Firms are using it. And we're just sort of getting into the frame of mind of how can we use it, because we will get briefs that are extremely voluminous with attachments that are voluminous, and AI can help sometimes just sort of distill it down, give a chronology, things of that nature. The one thing that we are always emphasizing in my chambers is do the double check. You can't just do it and just say, it's done. You have to do the double check and just confirm that it does say what the AI says it says, and that it does, a case does in fact present that. Or if it's a chronology, double check it and just go and see, is that the chain of events that occurred and how it occurred? So, but it is without question part of the fabric of where we are going, and certainly it's already here. So we all have to acclimate and get on board with that. And I will say a lot of judges tend to be older. And so it's a generational thing. They're not comfortable with technology. And so the quickest way is to say it's not permitted. But I don't personally think that that's realistic. And I do think we have to figure out how do we utilize it so that it is in fact beneficial and not harmful or somehow misleading unnecessarily. So that's been a big, big issue for the federal court for sure. And there are some people that are very progressive with it, and there are those that, like I said, are absolutely will not touch it and want nothing to do with it whatsoever. So I'm definitely not that person.
Mm. And how do you think collaborating with younger interns or younger law clerks could kind of impact that transition into kind of an AI world?
Yeah, I think for law clerks, especially like for me, like I learned from my law clerks, especially, they're extremely tech savvy, and I am, I want to be, but they are much more familiar with it just because that was not necessarily the generation that I came from. So I've had to introduce myself to it and to become sort of open to it. So my law clerks, but as you say, the law clerks are younger than I am, that's for sure. So as they come in, they're much more familiar with different platforms, different tools that are available, and and so I want them to feel free to explore it. But once again, with caution, understanding that anything they do is a representation of me. So if it somehow misrepresents or is inaccurate, no one will quote the law clerk, they will quote me, and I'm the person that will bear the brunt of that. So we try to be mindful of that, but to the extent that it can sort of facilitate and ease some of the load by giving us some assistance, it's great. But law clerks usually have some familiarity with it, but it's still very new, and it's still very new in the legal field as well, so it's developing for sure.
And in that kind of same vein of questioning, how do you think that interns or someone starting at a new job or new position should approach their higher ups or their boss in terms of suggesting something new or creating a respectful relationship between a boss and an employee to kind of share ideas?
That's a great question. And you have to know your audience, you have to know the environment, and you have to give yourself the opportunity to get to familiarize yourself with that environment. Don't come in the door with your new ideas, okay? Like I'm sure they're great ideas, but you don't walk in the door with those. Read the room, figure out who's doing what. And sometimes actions speak louder than words. So sometimes rather than saying, "Why don't you do such and such?" like you show me. You know what I'm saying? By the way, Judge, I did this on this particular platform. And this, I don't know if it's of any help to you. And my law clerks do that. It's like this, I kind of gave you a chronology here. I used co-counsel or whatever, and it kind of broke it down, which is great to me. So as opposed to me having to say, okay, go do this, do that, etc. So I said before, I like self-starters. I like people that can sort of take the initiative on themselves and say, what would I want to know? What would be helpful to me? And if it's helpful to you, more than likely it's helpful to me. So, so do what you need to do to provide that assistance as opposed to a lot of talking, you know what I'm saying? But it's show me exactly what you're referring to and how you think it will be beneficial as opposed to telling me. And so, once again, that's something you will learn just depending on the environment and how long you've been there. You get a chance to sort of read the people and the receptiveness. And if a person's not receptive, they're not receptive. You move on. It's as simple as that. But once again, you have to understand sort of where you are and who you're working with.
Right. And going back a bit to your time at law school, what were experiences that you brought into your lifelong career that you kind of noticed or initially began to kind of ideate on while you were at law school?
I feel like I went to law school so long ago. I hardly remember what I did. But I think even, and I don't even know that I can say that I learned such and such in law school because I feel like for me, law school was a blur in many ways in the sense that it was a means to an end. I knew that I was there for 3 years. I knew I was there to get a law degree, and so I was in a school. Like I said, I went to William and Mary. There were 10 blacks in my class, 10. And then my class was 110 people or so, which is a very small class, relatively speaking. Today, classes are a lot larger now. But so within that framework, for me, it was like I need to try to get good grades. I need to try to figure. Law school is very different than college. Very different. You literally take one exam in a class, and that is your grade. And so it doesn't matter how great you've done, how many readings you've done. If you can't excel on an exam, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many questions you asked in class. It's like the ability to perform well on that exam. So for me, just understanding once again is being prepared, being organized. Organization is a big thing for me. I know that's not everybody's thing, but for me, that's what helps me just sort of clarify, I map out my schedule, I map out what I want to do. And I tend to be regimented in that respect because that works for me. Everybody's different. So I can't put on someone else what works for me to make it work for them. So I can certainly tell you what works for me. And for me, like I said, just always, and it was not only in law school, it was in college. It's been when I was in private practice. It's been since I've been on the bench, is kind of being aware of what my responsibilities are, setting a schedule for myself, and trying to adhere to that schedule so I could feel some sense of satisfaction in getting things done. So I've always sort of operated with that view in mind.
Organization, it's key. It's the only way to move
Yeah.
forward.
I also tell you, one of my pet peeves with my law clerks, is that I don't want to come in their office and see a bunch of junk. That's just
Right.
me. It's my chambers and I don't want to see it. So, and I'm like, because for me, it feels like if your office is cluttered, then I'm thinking, well, maybe you're just that brilliant and but I know that doesn't work for me. So for me, I'm like this, just humor me. When you go back to your firm, you can be as sloppy as you want to be. But when you're here, I need things to look decent and in order. That's what I need.
And have you noticed an uptake in terms of women of color or people of color coming into the law field or the law industry?
Sadly, no, I have not noticed that. I will say that I've noticed more women than men of color for sure. But I have not seen that. And I will say that my view is from a federal court perspective. So I won't say that in the profession in general. I will just say in federal court, I do not see I don't see a ton of people of color, period, that are sort of litigators coming into federal court in my court. Now, maybe somebody else has a different experience, but in my court. So I do feel like it is an area that truly, truly is crying out for some real talented people to come in, and I think they could be absolutely can shine in the federal court system and in practice. And there are many areas in federal court. You're talking about the U.S. Attorney's Office if you're into being a prosecutor. You're talking about of being a federal public defender, and they do phenomenal work. Once again, that's in the criminal realm. But the U.S. Attorney's Office, they do civil work, they do bankruptcy related, they do appeals. So there's every area that you can think of that is available. There are lawyers that have become FBI agents. So I mean, it's like there are no limits to the different opportunities that are available. So I hope people will take more advantage of that.
Definitely. And do you think that for, I guess, in terms of specifically for the interns, in terms of thinking about career shifts or career changes, like do you have any advice about when someone is thinking about pursuing this particular career, but still within their field that they decide to pivot? Like, what do you think of how they should approach something like that?
I mean, I think you have to know yourself and you have to figure out really what makes you work. You want to do something you enjoy. You want to do something that you hopefully love. I do think if you find that, and it's not easy to find, so I don't suggest that it's easy to find, but if you can find that sort of position that you can do the best work that you feel you can do and you can actually thrive, that's a place that you will stay probably, even if you're not in the same place of work, you'll probably stay in that same field of work. So I think it's important to know yourself and to know, and don't chase the dollar. I've known many that have chased the dollar. It is not the end all and be all. If you do something you love and you do something you're good at and something you enjoy, then you'll make money. You'll be successful, but at the same time, you'll be fulfilled. And hopefully getting a job that fulfills you at the same time as pays you well is what happens for all of you.
And in terms of talking about fulfillment, what is your measure of success? Like, what do you see as like a measure of that I have succeeded in my career and just in my life in general?
Once again, that's a very personal thing to everyone. Everyone's, for some, depending on where you've come from, success looks very different than it looks for somebody else. What I do think, and so my measure of success can be completely different from somebody else's. What I do think is you can't adopt somebody else's measure of success. And when you try to do that, you're going to always feel like you have not achieved enough. And if you always feel like you haven't achieved enough, you'll never feel fulfilled. So I do think it's extremely important for you to know yourself, most importantly, and set your own goals, and achieve those goals, that will give you self-satisfaction and self-fulfillment, and you'll feel that you've accomplished something. But when you try to look at other people's standards, and especially in the world in which you guys live, the Instagram standard and the social media standard, you all know most of what you see is fake. So, and people show you their best sides, and they show you all the good news. They don't show you the bad news. And so when you feed into that and you're trying to emulate somebody else's standard, you're probably never going to be satisfied. So I encourage you to figure out what truly is success from your perspective, not by what society determines what is success, but what you determine is success, and for yourself. And obviously with input from your family, if that is important to you. But it's not a measure that society can make for you. Some people can see others as extremely successful and they're absolutely miserable behind the scenes. So it's really about just finding truly what that real sort of balance, work-life balance looks like for you. And once again, being able to do a job that you feel proud about doing, that you enjoy doing, and you happen to make good money. If you can do
Yeah.
that in many ways, you clearly found success.
Yeah. No, that's really powerful. I think in terms of the comparison game, it was like it's a game and we're unfortunately kind of wrapped up into it visually, but you have the chance to for yourself determine what makes you satisfied. So definitely.
Yeah, nobody can match these standards today that people put on social media. Nobody can. Even the people that put it out can't. So I think we have to be realistic, and I know that that's not necessarily easy to do because it is about followers and it is about getting attention and all those things. But like I said, if that's what you chase and that's what you hope for, it will be probably a difficult road for you to find true happiness and true fulfillment. But if that moves you, do your thing.
And then also too, I guess I would like to know why New Jersey in terms of like your undergrad and your law school experience was in the state of Virginia. So why did you decide to either come back to New Jersey or did you think about any other places in terms of starting a career? Because I definitely do think a lot of young people are thinking about which state, which like will benefit me, or like even going abroad or moving countries, where would my career take off? So I just wanted to know your personal story about why New Jersey.
I would have gone anywhere. To be really honest, I would have gone anywhere. I was trying to go to DC. I almost went to Massachusetts. I was almost in Chicago. I would have gone anywhere. But
Right.
it's about where the opportunity is, and that's what happened for me. I ended up when I finished law school. The judge that I clerked for offered me a position, and I didn't have another job. So I'm like, I got to have a job. So that is how I ended up back in New Jersey. I grew up in New Jersey. I'm from New Jersey. So it wasn't an uncomfortable return at all. But, of course, when you go to college, you have big dreams. You're like, I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying? I'm moving on
Yeah.
to bigger and better things. But those bigger and better things for me ended up being back in New Jersey. But no regrets. You know what I'm saying? I have no regrets. This is what was the best place for me to be. This is where I actually have truly developed my career, my connections, my relationships. And so I was open. Like I said, I would have done anything. But sometimes our plans are not necessarily the plans that actually come to be. So, and I do think you have to be flexible in that as well. And I will also tell you, and you didn't ask this, Cyreema, yet, but maybe you're going to ask. But one of the things that I got an offer to be general counsel for the Sports and Exposition Authority years ago. And that was a job that at the time the Nets played in New Jersey, the Devils played up in the Meadowlands and all those things. And so that position was offered to me. And then out of the blue, and I was like, this is great. I'm going to be going to Giants games, all this kind of stuff. I'm going to have tickets. And I was like, it doesn't get any better than this. And I don't even know what happened because all this was political, and basically it didn't happen. And I didn't get that job. And so at the time it was like I was really disappointed. But I will tell you, had I gotten that job, I wouldn't have this job. So sometimes opportunities don't turn out the way you want them to be, and you feel like I can't move on. And it just sometimes means there's a different opportunity available for you. It might be a better opportunity, might simply be a different opportunity. So once again, my return to New Jersey was just basically born out of the opportunity that was made open for me. So I just say, as they say, always keep your eyes and ears open to different things that are available to you. And as I said, I would have gone anywhere, but I have no regrets, and I'm happy that I returned to New Jersey.
Well, that does kind of lead into my next question about like potential disappointments or about dealing with rejection, but I always prefer like redirection because if you put a positive spin on it, it opens up your eyes to various options. So have you ever
That's
had
right.
to deal with like recalibrating what opportunity that you wanted to take on? But you kind of already answered that, yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And that is my best example because like I said, it was like I walked out of the room and it was like the job is yours. And I will tell you that after not getting the job, I don't even remember who got it, but after not getting the job, the Sports and Exposition Authority basically closed. Several people got arrested for some corrupt things. And so things that, I couldn't see, like it was the best thing for me not to be there. And so sometimes I think what you said is so powerful to say, not a rejection, but redirection, because that's exactly right. It's another opportunity. So if you look at it as a negative, it'll be a negative. But if you try to put that positive spin on it, then it could potentially change whatever opportunities are available for you going forward.
And you were talking about reputation earlier. How do you maintain or build a positive reputation in various areas?
Be a person of your word. You know what I'm saying? If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you, once again, you treat people the way you would like to be treated. You don't have expectations or feel like you're entitled to something. People don't have to be nice. People don't have to give you opportunities. But when they do, show some gratitude, express your appreciation for that. But most importantly, sometimes that gratitude and appreciation is shown by doing a good job. And so if the opportunity is made available to you, then take advantage of the opportunity. And as I said, show up 100% and do a good job. And that, like I said, is what people will remember, and that's what people will talk about. And if another type of opportunity comes available, that's when they'll say, I remember how good Cyreema was in this particular scenario. And I would love for her to be able to be kind of move into a different position as well. So that it happens all the time. And I think people underestimate the value of just, once again, not only building the relationship, but also it's just like being a good friend in many ways. And so just being that person that people can rely on and that your word means something. If you say it, they know that they can count on it.
And I would also like to open up the chat to anybody who has any questions for the judge. Please write in the chat or you can raise your hand and ask any questions. I'll give y'all oh, yes, Nicholas, go ahead.
Hello. Well, first of all, thank you so much for joining us today.
Nice to
Um,
meet you, Nicholas.
Nice to meet you. Um, well, I wasn't fortunate enough to attend an HBCU. I attend American, even though Howard's,
Okay.
right around the corner. But I guess my question for you is a little bit
Yep.
more on the personal level. What made you pledge Delta during undergrad?
Oh, that's a great question. Once again, nobody in my family, my brothers were all Kappas. So I had three brothers. They were all three Kappas. So I knew I wanted to do something in the Greek space. But for me, at Norfolk State, the Deltas seemed like they were the ones that had it going on. And there it was. So I said, you know what? If I'm going to pledge, I'm going to pledge Delta. And I will tell you, my dearest friend in this world, I met from pledging. And so she's my son's godmother, everything. I mean, so that the dearest friend I have in this world, we met because we were both interested in pledging. She had a long family line of Deltas. I had nothing, but and I met her in college, but also we pledged together. So
Thank you. Anybody else? Any other questions? But that actually is a good segue for another question I didn't even think of what was your experience like going to an HBCU? Because I know there's a wider range of students going to HBCUs or PWI. So what was a core memory, including pledging?
um, one of my core memories was that it was a place where I felt like I could be unapologetically me. And I say that, I grew up in a Black church. So, of course, I always had that comfort zone there. But one of the things when I was in college is that I just had the opportunity to pursue every opportunity that was available. I could get advice from people that I knew truly cared about me. and truly cared about my development and my success, and that they were invested in that. And and it felt that way. It wasn't like, contrived in any way. It truly felt sincere, and it felt very safe, and warm, in the sense that if you think you can, if you want to pursue something, pursue it. We will make every opportunity available for you. We'll do whatever resources we can put together. We'll try to do that for you. And that is one of the things that for me was just so, it still is such a long lasting memory for me. And I felt at the time I went to law school that I didn't feel like I was less than. I didn't feel like I was somehow not as capable or competitive as others, but because they built in me a true sense of confidence and a true sense of, if you put your mind to it, there's nothing that you can't achieve as well. So, pursue it, and achieve whatever dream that you want to achieve as well.
We have another question from Angel. Go ahead.
Hey, I think I would like to second what Nick said as well. I want to thank you for your time out of your busy schedule and just being here overall. But
Nice to meet you, Angel.
nice to meet you. Likewise. So my question is, you encourage interns to read the room before introducing new ideas, and I want to know, like, from your perspective, what are some signs that tells you if an organization is ready to embrace innovations, like any ideas, versus when someone should be more patient and just read the room overall itself?
Well, I can tell you in my situation how it would work. Like, for example, I have law clerks, my interns, for example, they interact very regularly with my law clerks, and not necessarily with me. They see me and all that, but they're interacting with my law clerks. And that's a very good space to say, hey, look, I was thinking about this. Is this something that would be welcome? Is this something that would be beneficial to you as a law clerk? Anything like that. And I think that's part of reading the room, because you understand that you don't basically bypass the law clerk and then try to come to me. And that's when people make the mistake. And I've had that. So trust me, I've seen it. So, but I think in time, if once again, if you're a star, you're going to be a star. Doesn't matter where you are, you're going to be a star, because stars shine. That's just how that works. And so, but to not be afraid to let that light shine is once again is showcasing your product, showcasing your ability, and however you need to do that. It may be on a smaller scale initially, and then it might grow to a larger scale. But I think once again, you'll get a feel, and just like you get a feel now, like if somebody likes you or they don't like you. If you're sitting there talking to somebody, if they're listening or they're not listening. Like all those things, like that's your intuition that tells you, like, this person's not interested in what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, so, you figure that out, and you figure it out quickly, and you know where you want to sort of dedicate your time and your energy, and who you dedicate that time and energy with.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and even just building off of that, knowing who to approach and when, I guess, like you say, it's kind of like
Oh,
working
yeah.
your way up, by just going straight to the boss. You're overminding a lot of people who have been there longer than you. So it's always good to
Exactly.
start with them to kind of build that larger, because they could add to the idea as well and bring you in. So definitely.
100%. 100%.
Another question in the chat from Andrew is, how do you separate your work from your personal life? Because he said he would imagine being a judge has both constraints and entitlements at work that don't follow you. So is it hard to navigate that?
Um, Great question. It truly, I mean, every judge is different. There are some judges that everything about them is, I'm a judge. I like to look at myself as, what I do is I work as a judge, but as I'm a person, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm very big on work-life balance, and I think it has a very important place, because we're human beings, and you need to sort of sometimes compartmentalize just sort of those things that make you tick and make you interesting, and you separate that from what you do as a job. Okay. So this is an all consuming job. I will say that. And everywhere you go, everyone refers to you as, she's a judge, she's a judge. But, it's certainly not who the core of you are. It's not the core of who I am. And so for me, I just try to keep myself doing things that I find interesting. I taught a spin class for 5 years until COVID happened, because, and then I come to court and go to trial. So, it's like, whatever moves you. And that moved me. You know what I'm saying? Like that's something that I enjoyed. And I don't think you should ever be afraid to do those things that you enjoy simply because of your job, unless it's a direct conflict, and then that's a different thing. But who you are as an individual is extremely important to develop, whether it's in terms of having a family, having friends, doing things that interest you. It's very important because that makes you a well-rounded person. And a well-rounded person tends to be a happier person. A happier person tends to be a more productive person. So all those things lead to support one another. So I think it's important to have that balance. Not always easy to get, I will say that. But I do think you have to work and you have to strive. For me, it's been a work in progress for a number of years. But I feel like for me, what I do does strike a nice balance.
Great. Another question, oh, excuse me, another question from Joyce is what are some ways that interns have shown ingenuity during their internships, and has it helped you add or redevelop parts of your clerkship or internship programs?
Well, also, you guys ask great questions. For us, our interns is very specific because they're usually coming out of law school, probably in the first year. Sometimes they might be interning during their second year or third year, but most of the times they're coming after their first year of law school. So we're essentially allowing them to have an opportunity to write and do work. So the way that interns sort of make themselves valuable in our chambers is if that they give timely work, well reasoned, thoroughly researched work, and then that leads to more work. So the more work you get is an indication of the fact that we're trusting you, that we believe that you are in fact able to do the job, and then likewise, it's building that intern's confidence as well. So once again, every job is different, every place is different, but for us here, in terms of are there some sort of uh, uh, ingenuous sort of, or I should say, like really interesting things they can do from a tech standpoint or anything like that. Not as easy in this space. I won't say it doesn't exist, but we haven't seen it yet. And it might be in part because they're not comfortable even doing that. And a lot of them are very legally focused. So that is really where we sort of land is making sure that they get good writing opportunities to see court proceedings. And I think for us, when interns show up and they're interested, because there are people that are checking boxes, we're not interested in that person, and it shows too. So when a person is truly interested and truly engaged in the opportunity and grateful for the opportunity, it shows in many ways.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I actually have one quick question. I'm just curious because you also mentioned like always coming in with 100%. And I just wanted to know what is your why? Like what strives you to always keeping that mentality of 100% every single day?
I mean, once again, we're human. So realistically, some days you're at 80. You know what I mean? So I mean, but when I say 100%, that doesn't mean that you're at level 10 every day. That doesn't mean that. 100% means that overall, the overarching sort of presentation that you give is that you're interested, you're dialed in, that you want to do a good job, you want to be of benefit to me in my chambers, and that you want to do once again, you want to do your work in a timely fashion. So I realize that people have good days, people have bad days. I have good days, I have bad days. So that is not to say you could never have a bad day. But I do think that if your mindset overall is about doing a great job and to be a person that's truly value added to the chambers, then that will always sort of kind of out march anything else that you do, because there are days that you just won't have. There are days we look. I mean, Allison will tell you we look at things, we're like, I don't even know what they're saying, like I can't even figure it out. And then you look at the next day, it's like, oh, okay. So because some days you just don't get it, and could be for many reasons. One, it wasn't clear. Two, you might just been in a different headspace. It just varies. But once again, being interested enough to be there most days shows up, as I said, that you are in fact there 100%.
I also think like reliability, knowing that you're reliable. So even if you have a one-off day, be like, okay, this person will bounce back. That too.
Exactly, exactly. And you've shown that over time. So, you know what I mean? So everyone understands that. As I said, we all go through things and we all have different things that happen in our lives that put us in different places in our mind. So we all understand that.
Any other questions? These have been really amazing, like well thought out questions. Thank you. Oh, another question from Faith. What are some changes that you have witnessed in your legal career that you feel were major improvements from the law profession compared to when you started your journey?
I think the all of the tech is a major improvement, honestly. You know what I'm saying? Just things that some things are much more simplified. The ability to do legal research is much more simplified. You're talking about when I came out of law school, we looked through books. Yeah, I mean that's what we did. You researched through library books, and and it hopefully it was updated and had the insert for update, because if it didn't, it was the wrong one. So I do think that the advancement in just the tech aspect of the law and digitizing many of all in different platforms has been extremely helpful. I think, especially for lawyers, for law students, for the court, everything.
And research at the core is everything, kind of like knowing how to look. Yeah, very important.
Yeah, we live and breathe by research. That is absolutely the core of what we do.
And that could also be applied for when you're thinking about whatever career or industry that you want to pursue, doing research on, okay, what classes should I be taking? What other additional hobbies or extracurricular should I be taking on? It's all about research. And we kind of have the world at our fingertips, often too much, but if
Yeah,
we kind of synthesize it, it can be very helpful.
absolutely.
Are there any final questions before we wrap up? If not, thank you so much, Judge. Oh, yeah, okay. Yes, it was just a chat from Andrew. Thank you so much, Judge Wigenton, for your amazing stories, for everything that you have told us, all the advice that you have given us. If students would like to drop their LinkedIn, they can. Do you have a LinkedIn for us to connect with you, or is it a different
I do have a
situation?
LinkedIn now. I don't know how much I check it, but I do have one. So, but yeah, if you look at under Wigginton, you will find me. Um, and feel free to reach out. Usually I'll respond, but if it takes me a little while, don't be offended. I just don't look at it every day, because guess what? I'm not looking for a job or connection. Just saying. So,
But
so
yes, connect with the judge, and I appreciate all of you for taking the time to listen to our conversation.
thank you, Cyreema. And I just to say to all the students, thank you so much for being here. Congratulations to you for being part of such an amazing program, and to Andrew as well. Just really commendable what you guys are doing. I'm thrilled to have been a part. And Cyreema, I don't know if you told them how you connected with me, but that is such an interesting story too. And once again, it underscores how you never know who you meet and how what it's going to turn into. So I don't know if you shared with them, Cyreema, but it's important.
I'll tell it really quickly that my father was doing jury duty and he saw the judge, and I think he was taken aback because he hadn't been in the court like in the court for a while, and then be seeing a woman judge, a Black woman as a judge. He was like, you have to connect Elevate Plus to have Judge Wiginton speak as an inspiration to all of us. So take that in as that everyone has a role to play in inspiring someone to do, something amazing and connect various people. So yeah.
100%. So that I love the story, and I'm so glad that I could be here and be part of it. So you know where to find me, Andrew.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're
Amazing
welcome.
conversation. Really great.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you so much.
You're very, very welcome. It's a pleasure seeing all of you, and hopefully, let's say you'll reach out and I'll hear from you, and I'm happy to connect.